You know that classic image of an English cottage garden, right? It's just this gorgeous, romantic explosion of flowers, kind of spilling over a path. It looks like nature just sort of did that all by itself. But what if I told you that this completely effortless, wild look is actually one of the most carefully engineered illusions in the entire gardening world?
And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. It's a total paradox. The more wild and spontaneous the garden looks, the more planning and structure is hiding just beneath the surface. This isn't about letting things go. It's about an artist hiding their brushstrokes perfectly.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth do you create this beautiful, tumbling chaos without it just becoming, well, an actual chaotic mess? That's exactly what we're going to break down. We're going to pull back the curtain and show you the blueprint for creating controlled chaos.
But before we get into the how, you really need to understand where this whole idea even came from. See, the cottage garden didn't start out as a floral fantasy. Its roots are way more practical, born from pure necessity.
Okay, so picture this. It's the 1340s, right after the Black Death. Laborers are finally getting their own little plots of land. But these weren't for looks. They were for survival. They were physic gardens, packed with medicinal herbs. Fast forward through the Elizabethan era, and it's still all about function, food, and medicine. Even in the early 1800s, potatoes and beans were the stars of the show. It wasn't until the late 1800s that the whole thing just flipped. People got tired of the super stiff, formal gardens of the rich and started to romanticize this humble, practical plot, transforming it into the flower-filled paradise that we know and love today.
All right, let's start peeling back all those layers of petals. Because underneath that seemingly random burst of color, there is a seriously strong and very intentional architectural blueprint. This is the skeleton that holds the whole thing up and keeps that beautiful chaos from just collapsing into a weedy mess.
And what's so brilliant is how these principles all work together. Planning everything super close together, that high-density matrix, isn't just to get that lush look. It's actually a clever trick to smother out weeds by not giving them any sunlight. Then you've got these winding paths that add a little mystery, making even a tiny garden feel bigger. A simple bench or a bird bath gives your eye a place to land in all that beautiful busyness. And by repeating the same color or plant here and there, you create this rhythm that ties the whole design together. It feels intentional, not accidental.
Now this brings us to a huge design secret. It's not just what you plant, it's the shape of the plants. Pros use this trifecta method to get that perfect balance of textures. So about 40% are these soft mounding plants. Another 40% are more fan-shaped, and then, this is the crucial part, 20% are those dramatic, spiky plants that give you that vertical wow factor. Nailing this ratio is what makes a garden feel dynamic and alive, instead of just flat.
And speaking of those spike-shaped plants, let's meet the big three, the iconic towers of the cottage garden. These are the absolute celebrities that bring the height, the drama, and that unforgettable silhouette you see against a summer sky.
First up, the foxglove. This one's a bit of a character. It's a biennial, which means it lives for 2 years. Think of it like a 2-act play. Year 1 is Act 1. It's just a bunch of leaves, kind of boring, just storing up energy. But then Act 2, the next year, bam, you get that incredible flower spike. It's also famously toxic. It's actually where the heart medication digoxin comes from, which is a cool callback to those old physic gardens. But its best trick? It self-seeds everywhere, popping up in new spots each year, which is absolutely essential for that spontaneous, wild vibe.
Next, we have the Delphinium. This is the garden's finicky aristocrat. Why bother? Because it delivers those stunning, jaw-dropping, true blue colors that are almost impossible to find anywhere else. But oh, it makes you work for it. It's what we call a heavy feeder, meaning it's always hungry and needs really rich soil. They're often short-lived, and they absolutely hate hot, humid weather. But for that short time they're in bloom, there is nothing else like them. Absolutely spectacular.
And rounding out our trio is the hollyhock. This is the architectural giant of the group. I mean, these things can soar up to 8 feet tall. It's a total sun worshiper, and it's perfect for planting right up against a fence or a wall to soften those hard lines with just a curtain of color. Now, its one little flaw is that it tends to get what gardeners call bare legs. The lower leaves can get a bit yellow and fall off. But don't worry, there's a clever design trick to hide that, and we are definitely getting to it.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint. We've got our star players. But how do you keep these tall, gorgeous flowers standing upright and looking healthy without a bunch of ugly green stakes everywhere? Well, this is where the real magic comes in. This is the art of invisible work. This has to be one of the most elegant and clever tricks in all of gardening.
It's called pea brushing. Instead of one big, obvious stake, you take a bunch of twiggy branches, like from a birch or hazel tree, and you just shove them in the ground around the young plant, creating this kind of natural-looking cage. Then, as the plant grows, it just grows up through the twigs. The foliage completely hides the branches, and you get this incredible, invisible support system that actually sways with the plant in the wind. It's genius.
Now you'd think that planting everything so close together would be a recipe for disaster with diseases, right? Well, it can be. But the solutions are surprisingly simple and sitting right in your kitchen. For that awful orange hollyhock rust, a simple spray of baking soda, soap, and water changes the pH on the leaf and stops it in its tracks. And for that dusty-looking powdery mildew, get this, a spray of diluted milk. Seriously, the proteins in the milk act like a natural antiseptic when the sun hits them. It's all about using these clever, nature-based solutions to keep that natural look.
Okay, we have the structure, we have the plants, and we've got the secret maintenance tricks up our sleeve. So now, let's put the whole puzzle together and see how these pieces combine to create that final, breathtaking illusion of controlled chaos.
Here's how the pros create that amazing sense of depth. They think in 3 vertical layers. Way at the back, you have your giants, the hollyhocks and delphiniums, making a tall backdrop. In the middle, that's the body of the garden, where things like foxgloves and shrub roses fill in and bridge the gap. And then, at the front, this is the crucial part, the footing. These are low-growing plants that spill over onto the path. And, you guessed it, they perfectly hide the bare legs of the taller plants behind them. See? Problem solved. And here's one more pro tip for you, something to really extend the show. After a delphinium's main flower spike is done, don't just leave it there. If you chop that stalk all the way down to the ground, the plant will go, "Oh, time to grow more," and it'll send up a second flush of new shoots. It's a super simple move that can give you a whole other round of flowers in the fall, basically doubling your bloom season. So, when you boil it all down, the real secret is this. The wild cottage garden isn't about neglecting your garden. It's the complete opposite. It's about building a strong, flexible framework and then inviting nature to come in and play. The gardener isn't a commander. They're more of a collaborator, gently guiding the chaos instead of fighting it. It's a style that works with nature's beautiful spontaneity, not against.
Which kind of leaves us with a fascinating final thought, doesn't it? We look for wildness and spontaneity as an escape from our very structured lives. But maybe, just maybe, the most beautiful and moving kind of wildness isn't the one that happens by accident, but the one that's created through a thoughtful, careful partnership with us.